Hey guys, how's it going? I'm back here with another video of my series where I teach you guys how to make a blog in React. And today we're going to be working basically on reading all the blog posts from the database, displaying them into our main page sector, and trying to handle all those small features that we have and trying to finish the project. If I'm not able to finish the project in this video, I'm going to make another one that is probably going to be a lot quicker. But yeah, let's try our best. So currently we have this. We already are able to send all our information through the create post page. So if we insert something here, for example, if I put my name Pedro, whatever, and I put a title, cool title. This is the title of our post, and we write a bunch of random stuff and I click submit post. You can see that now when I query my database, it will display the information that we sent. However, I want to do some stuff. For example, whenever I submit this, I want it to be sent directly to the main page so that we can see the new post being displayed. So before we do that, we want to create the display for the post. So let's go to our React part of the application. So on the client side, let's come here and let's go to the main page. And inside of here, we're going to erase this and basically create an object that is going to be a div representing the whole post. So let's create a div, give it a class name of post, and actually let me give it a class name of post container, because this is going to contain all the other posts as well. So post container, and inside of this we're going to create a post. So div class name equals to post. Okay, so inside of here we're gonna have a title. So h1 title. We're going to have a text, so it's going to be a paragraph with whatever, and below this we're also going to have a username, so h4 or something. Yeah, h4 Pedro Tech. This is my username. Okay, you can see this is basically going to be the order of stuff, and we want to make it into a square. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our app.css, and inside of here we're going to label all of the things that we have. So let's first grab the main page and basically give it the same component, the same like information as we did to the create post page. So I'm going to come here, copy this, I'm going to comment this and write main page CSS, and inside of here let's just copy this, post this, and write main page. So you guys can see that like everything is centered and it's already like similar to what the create post does. However, I don't want to center stuff on the middle of the page like vertically how it is doing right now. I want to center it in a way that it's only horizontally, so I can just remove align items, and you can see that now it's correct. So let's come here and let's grab the post container and let's give it initially a height of like 100 VH, but we're going to change that to height equals auto, because you guys are going to know what I mean by this. The width is going to be like, I guess 70% of the screen. Since it's centered, I just want it to be like right here. And inside of here, I want to add all this stuff. I want to do the same thing like we did before. So I want to center everything inside of it. So you can see that now it's correct. And just so we can see a bit of it, let's give it a background color. So background color, light gray. This is kind of like what I drew at the wireframe. So you can see, right? This is a bit too big. I'm going to remove this and make it like 50 maybe. Yeah, this is kind of like what I was looking for. So inside of here, we're going to have all the blog posts, and we can scroll through every single one of them just by using our mouse. So for each post, let's basically, actually I'm going to give it a box shadow over here, so it's kind of like better looking. Box shadow, 2 pixels, 2 pixels, 8 pixels, black, something like that. I always just test, you know. Let me actually just make this 1 pixel and make this 1 pixel as well, right? Okay, that looks okay. And let me remove the background color now that we have a box shadow. so you kind of like can see a bit. Actually, let me just change this to like an ice blue. Yeah, that's okay. I don't really care about the color. It's just styling, you know? So we have this. So let's create our post. And our post is going to be, again, a width of like, I guess like auto. Probably, right? Auto. Because it's going to be like basically the same width as this. But we also want a margin of like 5 pixels. And let's give it a border of 1 pixel solid and black. So just so that we can see what's happening. Okay, looks good. Let me just actually make this 100%. Let's see if it works now. Yeah, it works. And let's increase the margin to like 20 pixels because, yeah, a bit more. So 50 pixels. Okay, looks good for me. So let's also make it a height. So the max height will always be about, I don't know, 300 pixels. A bit more, so 400 pixels, and that should be it, right? I don't want to waste so much time on this, but that's okay. And inside of the post, I also want to add the same thing. So I want to add the display flex and the justify content center so you guys can see that everything will be completely centered. But I also want to add a flex direction. So flex direction, I want to make it equal to column so that everything is stacked on top of each other and everything should be fine. Yeah, it's fine. I also want to put in align items because I want to center everything directly, and that should be fine, right? This is basically a post. I'm going to make it a lot prettier, but for now, that's good. And now what we need to do is we need to make it a way so that we're making an Axios GET request to get all the information from all the posts, and we're displaying everything here. In order to do that, we need to create a state, which is going to represent all the posts. So const posts, post list, actually, that's how I'm going to call it, set post list. And this is going to be a use state hook, right? This is going to be an empty array. And over here, let's make a use effect hook, because what we're going to do is basically whenever you load the screen, I want to make the Axios request to the database, and we're only going to change it whenever there's any changes to the database. So let's call for Axios, and it's automatically going to import. No, actually it didn't. So let's import Axios. So Axios from Axios, and we can get an Axios.get request. Put basically the link for a backend, and I didn't create actually the route for sending information, sending all the posts to our front end. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. I can come here to my server. I'm gonna open this. I'm gonna open my index.js, and you can see that we have a route for creating a post. So now we want to create a route. So I'm gonna erase this, and actually I'm just gonna change it from here. I want to change it to /API/get, and it's gonna be a GET request. And what we basically want to do is we just want to query every single information and send it directly to the front end. We're gonna do this by, instead of writing insert into posts, we want to select all from posts. And this is literally what we're going to do. We're just going to select every post there, and we're going to send it back to our front end. Let me erase this because it doesn't make sense. I need to put a comma here, and let me save this, and now everything should be working, right? We're just selecting everything, but we also want to send the information. So let me write res.send, and inside of here, I want to send the results. Basically, if you want to send information as a network request or HTTP request to your front end, if you want to send that information, you need to write res.send and the value of the result, which we called over here. So let me save this, and if I come to my front end and I copy this URL, so localhost 3001 /API/get, this is the URL. We can copy this, and we can come to our React application, paste this here, and over here we can just write .then, because it's a promise, it's going to return a value. We can call this, we can pass a variable called data. So let me actually write data, and then pass it as a function, right? So we want to do something with this data. Let's for now just console log the data so we can see if it's working. So data, And let's save this and see if it works, right? What happened? It's giving errors for XUs. Oh, because it did automatically import XUs before, so we actually were importing it twice. Let me save this, and now it should be working. Let's look at our inspect and our console, and you can see it's constantly an object with the data of our two elements in our database. So it means it's working, but it means that it's returning as an object with the property data, and inside of that there's an array with all of our posts. So this is how we're gonna set all of our information. Instead of console login data, we're gonna set post list equal to data, which is this object that was returned, dot data, because again, you remember the object returned with a property called data, and inside of that property was all of our data. And this is basically what we want, because inside of data there's an array, and we're gonna set the post list equal to this. So over here, inside of the post container, if we want to render a post, what we need to do is basically grab the post list, map it in a way that now we have a key and a value, and that value will be the element, right? So let's copy this, copy the post and put it inside of here. So let me save this, and basically the reason why it's given an error is because we're not returning anything. So we gotta write a return statement and return this. Wait, I wrote it in the wrong place. So return and return all of this div, right? And let's save this, and now it should be working. So you can see it's already returning everything, like two of them when we only created once before. That's because we have two elements in our database. And if we want to customize it so that we're seeing all the information directly from that element, we can just grab the value, the parameter value, which represents the data from that, like the element in that array, and we can write value dot, let me think, it's value dot movie review, right? Let me just console log the data again, console log data dot data, so we can dot data, so we can see how our object looks like. Wait, this is giving errors. Let me just comment this out, and let's see the console log to see how our object looks like. So over here, it looks like it has a title, a post text, and a username. Yeah, that makes sense. Let me actually, I forgot to do something. On the use effect hook, you better add a comma and an empty array over here, or else it will be constantly making the request, which is really bad. So just make sure you do this so it only makes the request once. And we can just uncomment this and write value dot title, and that should work. And over here we can just write value dot post text, just like we did in our database. And down here we can do the same thing by writing value dot user name. I guess this is how we wrote it. Let's see if it works. And what happened? Let me see if there's an error. Okay guys, I'm back here. The reason was because I always make this same mistake. Basically, you should write value as the first element in the map function instead, and key as the second one. So now it's working, right? You can see that now we have two divs which are two posts, and in each div there's like the information from our database. What we want to do now is we want to style it in a way so that they are stacked on top of each other. So if I go to my app.css and I go to my post container, I could just add a flex direction and make it equal to column, and now all of them are on top of each other. But again, we want to kind of like add a max width, right? Because that's basically what I think would be best for this situation. So our in a max width, we're gonna make it 50%. It actually didn't work. Let me see why. Basically, oh, I get what it means. Basically, this text is not like going, like it's not breaking, so that it becomes like one line after another, and that's what we're gonna fix right now. So guys, I'm back here. Basically what I did is I spent some time trying to figure out this CSS. Basically, you can see I added a new element with like a huge paragraph, and everything is looking good, like everything is lining up. I'm gonna actually push this a bit to the bottom. So let me go to my main page, to my post container actually, and I'm gonna margin top so that like, I don't know, 50 pixels, so we kind of like get a better view, like something more appealing, you know? Yeah. So basically what I did to fix this is I first actually removed, like I first added, I removed everything I had on my post, and I made it equal to width equals 80%. Then I simply made my post to be a display flex with a flex direction of column. And I also removed all the margin from the post. I actually just added a padding to my post container so that we get all of like the space between like the left and the right of each post. So now it's working, and I just gotta like style a bit the inside of the post. So if we come here, we can even do like a line item center, and you can see that now everything looks good. What I want to do now is I actually want to make sure that whenever you have like a huge text like this, it only displays like 50% of it, you know? So I mean, if I go to my main page and I grab my post text, I can simply ask if vol.post text. Actually, let me just use how do I say this? Let me just use the ternary operators. So if I grab vol.post text and I simply make .length, this will basically grab the length of the string. I can just question if it's more than like, I don't know, what is a big string? I would say it's bigger than like 200 characters, right? So if the length of the string is greater than 200 characters, then I can just make it equal. I can just display the string. So make it equal to vol substring actually. So vol.post/text.substring, and I want to grab it only from 0 to 200, as I mentioned here. So I'm cutting 200 characters. I'm cutting like the string to be only 200 characters, and I also want to make it like I want to increase at the end kind of like a 3 dots to show that there's more to that string. So if that is not true, I just want to display the vol.post/text. Let's see if this works. You can see that now this is greater than 200 characters, and when it cuts to like less than 200 characters, and it adds 3 dots at the end. I think we can get more than 200 characters. Let me try 500 and see what it looks like. So you can see that now it looks better, right? When it's more than 500 characters, it will substring and only show half of it. Why? Because we want basically to create a route where if we click on this, we go to a page directly with that element. So that post, right? And I think this looked good. Like, I know this is not perfect. The styling is not perfect, but we can see everything, right? And basically, if I come to my main page and I create another page called post, this is going to basically represent each individual post, right? I can just write RFC, and inside of here, I'll just grab the post itself. So I'm just literally gonna copy and paste this because I think it's fine. I'm gonna copy and paste this. I'm gonna post it here, and this will probably not be like what we want, but let's just go along with it. So what we need to do now is we need to go to our app.js and make sure that we're going to create a route that will show individually each different post. And how do we do that? Basically, we create a route. So route with a path, and in this path we can basically create a /post, and we can add a variable name to it. So basically our variable name will be post ID, and this post ID will be basically the post ID in our database. So this ID right here, this is how we're going to differentiate each post in our route. Actually, I should add a slash over here, and let's just render let me just copy this. I'm going to render basically the post component. So over here, let's just write post, and we haven't actually created a post component, like we didn't import it yet. So let's import it right here. So post from pages/post. Okay, that should work, and it's not showing anything because we basically made a mistake. So we didn't finish our component here. So yeah, now it should work, and it broke our React app. Let's run it again. So npm start, and our React app will run again. So what we need to do is we need to get the ID from our, this is an error because we don't have a value in our string, right? So if we come here and we can just comment this out, we can comment this out, and we can comment this out. Basically, what we need to do is we need to use a property of React Router DOM called useParams, and this property will basically allow us to get the ID from our post. So let's come here and let's import useParams from React Router DOM. And if we come here, we can create an ID. So let ID, it's called post ID actually. That's how I called it, right? So let post ID equals to useParam. useParams. Is it useParams or useParam? Let me see. useParams. Yeah, it's useParams. So basically now we have the ID that is on the route, and I'm gonna show you by basically going to my main page, and I'm gonna make it so that when you click on that page, you're basically rendering another page. You're going from the main page to the post page whenever you click on a post. So I'm gonna give an onClick event to our post, onClick, and on this onClick event, basically I want to, let me do this, I want to push another route. So I'm gonna grab another property of the React Router DOM called useHistory, and it's just a way for us to go from one page to another. So from React Router DOM, and if I come here and I just call the variable let history equal to use history, it's a hook, right? So we can just do this, and now we have a variable called history. And on the onClick event, I just want a history.push the following URL. I want to go to the post. Oh, I'm actually gonna use this types of quote because I want to add a variable. So push to the URL saying /post and /post/ the ID. So $, and we can grab the ID by making value equal to value .id, right? .id. I think that should work. Let's see if it works. What happened? Key is not defined. Why key is not defined? It's on line 32, so okay, it's this is the error. So let me erase this, let me save it. Now if we click on something here, you'll see that we'll push it to a page called /post/3, which is the ID for that post I clicked. If I click on this one, it should be 5. Yeah, so it's working, right? I'm actually gonna give a kind of like a CSS animation for when you hover on a post, just because I want to see like the cursor changing, and I gotta get a visual representation of it, you know? So I can come here and just change the cursor. So whenever we hover this, nothing is happening. Oh, because I gotta erase this. Okay, and I gotta change this to hover. So when I hover this, you can see now we have a cursor in the screen showing that we can click on this. So, okay, so everything is working. And what we need to do now is we need to create a function on our backend that will basically return the information from this specific element in our database based on an ID. So we basically just want to send an ID, and we want to return the element in our database with that ID respectively. So let's go to our backend. Let's kind of close our client. Let's go to our index.js, and let's create probably our last route. So inside of here, I want to create a route saying, let me copy it again. I want to create a route saying /.get get from ID / the ID, right? ID. I want to pass the ID through this, right? So inside of here, I'm gonna kind of comment this out for now. I want to, actually no, I'm not gonna comment this out. What I'm doing, I want to select all from posts where ID equals to question mark, because we're gonna pass a variable right next to here, and that's gonna be our ID. So let's pass a variable called ID. We haven't created it yet, but we're gonna do it right now. So let's const ID equal to rec.params.id, and we're gonna pass this through the Axios request. So it's gonna work fully because we're grabbing the ID from our URL. So let's come here and let's go to our front end. So let's save this, let's go to our front end, and now we gotta make the Axios request for sending this information. So if we come to our post, we can create a use effect over here because we want to basically render our post whenever we start our page, right? So I'm gonna basically add this right here, and we want to import Axios. So if I do this, it will probably import it on its own, right? No, it didn't, so we got to do it. Import Axios from Axios. Okay, so we can just come here, write axios.get, and we can pass another URL. So the URL we defined here is this one, so /API/get from ID. If we come to our localhost 3001 again, and we add this right here, so we can just copy this and we can post it over in the Axios request. Yeah, over here. Let me just add an HTTPS because I don't know why it didn't copy this, so it should work, right? Let me actually copy from this so that I can see it. Yeah, it's actually HTTP. Yeah, we're not working with HTTPS. So basically this should be working, and instead of just passing the ID over there, we actually want to change the quotes again so that we can pass a variable. And the variable we're going to be passing is the post ID we grabbed from our parameter. So post ID, the one we defined over here, we're passing directly to our URL. So on the dot then, since this is a promise, we're going to grab the data and we want to respond it by console logging the data for now. So let's console log the data and let's kind of like see what happens, right? So let's come here and let's run this. You can see nothing is happening. I'm even going to like inspect elements so we can see everything. And if I click on a post, so I'm going to click on this, something happened. So failed to execute open on X. Okay, invalid URL. So this isn't a valid URL. I'm gonna take a look at what happened and I'm coming back to you guys. Okay guys, this was like a really dumb mistake. So now it's working. The reason is I didn't add a slash right next to the /API. So now when we're rendering their page, it's grabbing the ID on the top, so it knows that this is the 5th post, and it sends this information to the database. It retrieves all the information from the element in the database with the ID 5, and now it's returning over here, as you can see, as an array of one object with all of its information. So we can come here and we can, instead of console logging data, we can create an object which is going to be a state. So const post and set post. It's going to be an object representing all the information from the post. So use state and an empty object, right? So if we come here and we just write set post equal to, and inside of this post I want to pass the title, right? I want to create a property for the title, and it's going to be equal to the data.data, and it's going to be the first element of the array.title. Then we can get the correct information. And if you are confused to why we did this right here, I'm going to explain why. So I had this variable data, which is the response from the database. And as we've seen before, each response contains a bunch of information, but more importantly, it contains a property called data, which inside of it, there's an array of all the elements in the response. Although we're just getting one information, like one element from the database, it doesn't know that. So it's sending an array of all the elements, which in this case only has one. So that's why we're accessing the first element in the array, so that we are just getting the first element, so the element that we're looking for. And now we're accessing its title, so that we're setting it equal to a property in our object called title. So I'm just going to do the same for like the post text and the username. So post text equals to .title.post text. And let's do it the same for the username. Username Okay, now we have our object, and if we want to display it, we can, instead of just mapping through stuff like we were doing before, we can just grab the post.title. because now we have an object with a property called post. And over here, the same thing. We can grab post. Actually, I'm gonna erase this because we don't need to substring anything anymore. We can just write post dot post text, and for the username we can just write an h4, and over here we can write post dot username, and let's see if it works. You can see that it's completely working. We can get a different information from each like post we go into. So like if I click on here, you can see it's now only information from this post. If we click on this one, it's now only information from this post, because the only thing changing is the path, the parameter in our URL. So it's working. So what I want to do now is probably I want to style more of it. I want to make stuff more beautiful. I want to make stuff more responsive, but I don't think it's useful for this video since it's already pretty long. I just want to post this video because it's probably like over 25 minutes, which is not what I wanted, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. When I start talking for like a long time, I kind of get confused sometimes. I make some mistakes, but I'm trying to improve that. So I'm sorry if you got confused sometime in this video. I'm answering any question you have, so please leave a comment down below so I can answer your question. If you have any doubts, I can even answer you guys through email, through Instagram, through whatever. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I see you guys next time.